You're sitting on the couch watching TV, like any other Tuesday night. She walks in and suddenly asks, "Do you think my friend Sarah is pretty?" Your heart drops. You know something's off, but you can't figure out what. You answer carefully, trying to avoid the trap you can sense but can't see. Whatever you say, it feels wrong. The air gets thick, she gets quiet, and you're left wondering what the hell just happened to your peaceful evening. Here's what nobody tells you. That wasn't a random question. That was a test. And brother, you probably just failed it. Let me share something that's going to completely change how you see your relationship. Right now, as you're reading this, your partner's subconscious mind is running a sophisticated security system. Think of it like airport security, but instead of checking for weapons, it's checking for weakness. And just like airport security, this system never sleeps, never takes a day off, and definitely doesn't care about your feelings. The crazy part? She doesn't even know she's doing it. Remember when you first got together? Everything was magic. She laughed at your jokes, even the terrible ones. She thought your quirks were adorable. You could do no wrong. Then somewhere between month 6 and year 2, something shifted. She started questioning your decisions. Small disagreements became big arguments. Things that never bothered her before suddenly became relationship-ending issues. You probably thought, is she changing? Is this the real her? Wrong question. The real question is, what triggered her subconscious alarm system? Here's what happens in every relationship, and I mean every single one. In the beginning, you're a puzzle she hasn't solved yet. You've got your own life, your own friends, your own routine. You're interesting because you're a known. Her brain is getting dopamine hits from the mystery of you. But as time passes, as you become more comfortable, as you start planning your life around her schedule, something subtle happens in her subconscious mind. It starts asking, wait, is this guy actually as strong as I thought? Or did I make a mistake? And once that question enters her mind, the testing protocol activates. Now, before you start thinking this makes women sound calculating or manipulative, let me stop you right there. This isn't conscious. This isn't some evil plan she cooked up while you were at work. This is evolutionary programming that's been refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Her ancestors who picked weak partners, their genes didn't make it. Her ancestors who had this testing system, they're why she's here today. In her subconscious mind, there are only 2 types of men in the world. Not tall or short, not rich or poor, not funny or boring. Strong or weak. That's it. That's the whole system. And every interaction, every response, every decision you make is feeding data into this categorization system. It's like she's got an invisible scorecard, and every test you pass adds to the strong column, and every test you fail adds to the weak column. Here's where it gets interesting. The strong man doesn't even realize he's being tested. He's just being himself. He has boundaries because that's who he is, not because he read about it in some relationship book. He makes decisions based on his values, not on what will make her happy in that moment. He's not afraid of conflict because he knows who he is. The weak man? He's trying to solve problems that don't exist. She says she's upset about the dishes, so he writes a dissertation on proper dishwasher loading techniques. She creates drama about his gym time, so he cuts it in half, then cuts it again, then stops going entirely. He thinks he's being understanding, being a good partner, being mature. But her subconscious is watching all of this and thinking, this man will change everything about himself to avoid conflict. This man needs my approval more than he needs his own identity. This man is weak. If you're enjoying this exploration of relationship dynamics, hit that like button and subscribe to Couple Coat YouTube channel. We dive deep into the psychology of relationships every week, and trust me, you'll want to catch the next one. Let me tell you about Tom. Tom was a successful architect, confident guy, had his life together. His girlfriend Emma would do this thing where she'd pick a fight, blow it completely out of proportion, then storm off to her sister's house. The first time it happened, Tom panicked. He called 17 times, sent flowers, showed up at her sister's place with her favorite takeout. She came back and he thought he'd solved the problem. The second time it happened, he did the same thing, but it took more effort, more flowers, more apologies, more promises. By the 5th time, Tom was basically a trained SEAL. The minute Emma got upset, he'd go into crisis mode. And here's the really messed up part. Each time she came back, it wasn't because she missed him or because his grand gestures worked. She came back because the test wasn't complete. She needed to see how far she could push him. How much control did she really have? After 2 years of this cycle, Emma left Tom for her yoga instructor, a guy who, when Emma tried to pull the same drama, said, "Cool, have a nice time at your sister's house," and went to play basketball with his friends.
Tom made more money. Tom was more educated. Tom, on paper, was the better choice. But the yoga instructor had something Tom had lost. He didn't need Emma's approval to feel okay about himself. That's the key that unlocks everything. Let's talk about the classic failures, and I bet you've done at least one of these. The logic trap. She's upset. You explain. She's more upset. You explain better. She's even more upset. You bring out charts, graphs, and a PowerPoint presentation, if you could. But here's what you're missing. She doesn't want logic. The surface issue isn't the real issue. The test is whether you'll be pulled into her emotional state or maintain your own center. The dancing monkey strategy. You think if you just try harder, show her more love, give her more attention, do more nice things, she'll be happy. So you become a one-man entertainment show. But the more you perform, the more desperate you look. And desperation is the opposite of attractive. The therapy trap. You go to couples counseling, which can be great, don't get me wrong, but the therapist tells you to be more vulnerable and share your feelings more. So you cry about your childhood, talk about your insecurities, become an open book of emotions. 3 months later, she's texting her ex because you've become so emotionally transparent that there's no mystery left, no strength to lean on. Listen, vulnerability is important, but vulnerability without strength is just weakness. You need to be a locked safe that occasionally opens, not a box with no lid. Here it is, the thing that's going to make some of you uncomfortable. You need to become genuinely okay with her leaving. Not as a bluff, not as a strategy, not as some reverse psychology trick. You need to reach a place in your development where your happiness, your sense of self, your worth as a person isn't tied to whether she stays or goes. I can hear you now. But that sounds cold. That sounds like I don't care about her. Wrong. You can love her deeply without needing her desperately. You can want her in your life without requiring her for your happiness. You can be fully present without losing yourself. Think about it like this. When you're starving, you'll eat anything. When you're well-fed, you can be selective about what you eat. Right now, most men are emotionally starving, so they'll accept any behavior, any treatment, just to keep getting that validation. The strong man is emotionally well-fed. He's complete on his own. So when she creates unnecessary drama, he doesn't engage. Not with anger, not with frustration, but with genuine calm. When you're ready to talk like adults, I'm here. Until then, I've got things to do. And then he actually goes and does those things. He doesn't sit around waiting for her to calm down so his life can resume. When she threatens to leave, he says, "That's your choice, and I'll respect it. But I'm not going to beg someone to stay who wants to go." And he means it, not as a manipulation tactic, but as genuine self-respect. I watched a friend go through this transformation. Marcus. His wife Jessica was running circles around him. Every week there was a new crisis. His tone was wrong. He didn't understand her. He was never there for her, even though he worked from home specifically to be around more. Marcus tried everything. He read books, went to therapy, asked her what she needed, and tried to provide it. Nothing worked. The tests got worse. She started openly flirting with other men. His life became about managing her emotions. Then something broke in Marcus. Not in a bad way, but like a spell being lifted. He just stopped caring about passing the tests. He joined a gym, started a side business, reconnected with old friends. When Jessica created drama, He'd calmly say, "I'm not doing this right now," and leave the house. The first time he did this, Jessica lost her mind. She called him 50 times. When he came home 3 hours later, she was ready for World War III. But Marcus didn't engage. He wasn't angry, he wasn't cold, he was just unmoved. And here's where it gets fascinating. Within 2 weeks, Jessica completely changed. The drama stopped, she became sweet, affectionate, interested in his life again. Why? Because her subconscious had been desperately looking for confirmation that Marcus was strong, and he'd finally given it to her, not through words or promises, but through unshakable behavior. When I say show teeth, I don't mean become aggressive or mean. I mean have boundaries and actually enforce them. Most men announce boundaries but never enforce them. That's not a boundary, that's a suggestion. Real boundaries are simple. I don't accept being spoken to disrespectfully. If that continues, I'll remove myself from the situation. Then when it happens, you actually leave. No argument, no explanation, just consequences. The difference between weak and strong is simple. Weak men threaten consequences they won't enforce. Strong men don't threaten, they just have standards and live by them. Here's the beautiful paradox. When you're genuinely willing to walk away, when you're truly okay alone, when your happiness doesn't depend on her approval, that's when she feels most secure. Because she knows she's with a strong man who chooses to be with her, not a weak man who needs her. If you're finding value in this, remember to like and subscribe to Couple Code YouTube channel. We're building a community of people who want real talk about real relationships. So here's what I want you to think about. Where in your relationship are you compromising yourself to keep the peace? What parts of who you are have you negotiated away to avoid conflict? What version of yourself did you bury to make her happy? And here's the bigger question. What would happen if you started being that person again? Not aggressively, not to prove a point, but simply because you remembered that the man she fell in love with in the first place was the man who had his own life, his own boundaries, his own unshakable sense of self. The tests will keep coming. They never fully stop. But when you're genuinely strong, when you're truly whole within yourself, you pass them without even noticing their tests. It becomes effortless because it's just who you are. So here's my question for you. What's one boundary you've let slip in your relationship that you know you need to reinstall? And more importantly, what's really stopping you from setting it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a real conversation about this. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about playing games or following some formula. This is about becoming the kind of man you respect when you look in the mirror. The kind of man who doesn't need to be tested because his strength is self-evident. The kind of man who loves deeply but needs nothing desperately. That's the man every woman's subconscious is looking for. And that man has been inside you all along, just buried under layers of bad advice and fear of loss. Time to dig him back out.